Hey everybody, this is Steve here from um, Wellness Warrior, and today we're going to talk about the end of the detox. You've done a wonderful 5 days, and now we're just going to sum things up so you know where to go from here. Because this is a really important spot because you don't want to, just finish and have maybe some great results and not know where to go from here. So, what's next? I want you to be able to keep that momentum going today that you started in the detox and move forward. The first thing that you really should do is really make a list of things that went well for you over the last week. Think about, did you find some new foods that you liked? Did you really work on self-care this week to make sure that, you took care of your self as well inside as well as on the outside and in your mind as well? And also, what didn't go as well as you thought it could be. And don't forget, this is 5 short days. And considering, that very short amount of time, um, hopefully a lot of good things happened. So let's kind of take a step back and figure out where can we go from here. So probably the most important thing to think about is all the things that were in the detox where were cut out. The major things that were cut out were gluten, dairy, and sugar. So it's important to know which one of those three things, or if any of those things, or maybe all the things, had some ill effects that were making you not feel as good before you started detox and maybe good towards the end. So I'd like you to pick one of those three things, either gluten, dairy, or sugar, and reintroduce those back into your diet. Let's say you want to start with dairy. All right. So take 3 days, introduce some dairy into your diet and notice what happens to you. Do you start feeling bloaty? Do you get a runny nose? Do you have digestive distress? I know I get some digestive distress if I have dairy. Try cutting it out again and see what happens to see if, maybe you're just a little bit sensitive to dairy. You can follow the same reintroduction process with gluten as well. So, have some gluten for a couple days. Are you getting achy joints? Do you feel puffy? Do you have belly pain? Do you have digestive distress from that? And again, do that for a few days, then cut it back out and see if those things tend to disappear. Same thing with sugar. But as you reintroduce these things, really pay attention to how much energy and how your mood changes when you decide that you are going to reintroduce one of these things. All right. So when you have sugar, do you tend to get like angrier? Does your family think you're a little bit difficult to deal with when you have, too much sugar or too much dairy or too much gluten? Play around with those things to see what they actually do to you. Nobody ever gives themselves a chance to look into these three substances. Sometimes they're allergens. Sometimes they react bad with your, gut microflora. But nobody gives themselves a chance to see, what do they actually do? There's millions of people in this country and abroad that just live in this low level, brain foggy, gut distress feeling all the time and just think it's normal. I'm sure you've run into a lot of people that say, I just have gut distress and, I just live with it. But have they gone in there and done the hard work to find out if, what's given them this gut dysbiosis? They don't know because they never given themselves a break in order to see what the impacts of those things are. And even for all of these things, all three of these things, gluten, casein, and sugar, they could really do a number on your blood sugar as well, and it becoming unstable. And that in and of itself can make you crabby. It can make you hard to deal with. It could give you brain fog. So, finding out these things is super important. I also want you to think about caffeine a little bit, whether or not you should be adding it back in the morning. I'm not really opposed to caffeine. I drink a cup of coffee every morning. I put a lot of things in it, a lot of nutrients, collagen, protein powder, ashwagandha. I put a mushroom blend in there and also in some spices. But all of those things I put in there to, do certain things in my system that I, want, either for antioxidants or, to build muscle or whatever. But for some people, they just can't, like caffeine is just something that they can't handle very well. All right. When you have caffeine, do you feel like often jittery? I remember when I was drinking maybe 2.5, 3 cups of coffee a day, I would really be jazzed up. But since I've dialed it back, I changed how I prepare the coffee a little bit, so I don't really get those jittery feelings, too much. Think about in the past, you need the cup of coffee to make it through the day. That probably gives you an indication that there's probably some other things going on in your diet. And you're at the point right now where it is good to experiment because you've cleaned yourself out for those 5 days. And moving forward, how is that going to influence, your mood, how your guts feel, maybe even how your joints feel. Coffee has a half-life as well. So what a half-life means is that, let's say you take in 100 milligrams of caffeine. For most people, it's about 8 to 10 hours. So after about 8 or 10 hours, you have 50 milligrams of caffeine in your system. After 8 or 10 more hours, and you have 25 milligrams of caffeine in your system. So you can see how it goes half each time. Which means even when you go to bed, you still have a little caffeine in your system if you're having a lot of caffeine. And if you're drinking caffeine later in the day, then you could really be jazzed up before you go to bed, and that can really influence your sleep. The other thing I like to think about, since let's transition off the food into like some habits. Hopefully you took the making the self-care habits seriously, and you've tried to add at least one of those things in this week. Think about which one of those healthy habits, either self-care or otherwise, really resonated with you, and something that you think you may just keep going with. Maybe it's the Epsom salt baths. Maybe it's having a little bit of hot lemon water in the morning. Maybe it's making sure you get leafy greens every single day. Which one do you think that you can latch onto something and make that a habit moving forward? Right? It doesn't have to be all the things. All the things might even make it better, but it doesn't have to be all the things. Pick one thing. If you do a detox like this quarterly, if you pick up one positive habit each of those times, that's 4 habits that you're doing, that you latched onto things that you can have in your life that are positive moving forward. So think about which one you could add to your daily routine. Another thing that you might want to think about. Some people mentioned that they skip breakfast during this too because they just weren't hungry. So maybe that's something that you incorporate. Maybe if you did not wean yourself off of caffeine, but you did not put sugar in it. Maybe that's a habit that you latch onto. Maybe it's, another habit is like if you have a workplace and somebody has a candy drawer, like this week, maybe you didn't dig into that drawer or go visit those people that do have candy and take some of those things. So think about which of those habits you feel comfortable leaving in the past, letting them go, and to really move forward. Then, on the flip side of that, think about, was there any bad habit that you had that you didn't do this week that maybe you could even like continue to not do moving forward? That's another way to look at this as well. So good habits moving forward, not or cutting out the bad habits and moving forward, and that would be like two things like moving forward that you could really, um, those little things that really change your life. All right. So some of you in Detox's past have mentioned, can I eat like this all the time? Yeah, certainly. Whole foods diet is probably the best diet that you could have. I don't really like calling it diet. I like calling it lifestyle. Whole foods lifestyle. How's that? But that just eliminates all of this other background processed food that most people get all the time. All right. And basically, this is how I eat most of the time. Um, you know, I think for those of you that know me well, you know that I have enough energy to do what I want to do on most days. For those of you that know me really well, you know that I don't function once the sun goes down. So I'm pretty tuned into my circadian rhythm, but that's something for another day. A couple other things that you might have done this week. One, if you did happen to use the milk thistle as one of the detoxification agents, milk thistle is pretty good, like doing periodic doses. So having it as a long-term supplement, probably it's going to be less and less effective. But if you have it like, once a quarter or, once every 2 months, you go through a week where you have this milk thistle and you clean up some of these things. That could be totally beneficial. So keep that in mind. And again, let me flip back to the other thing. When you reintroduce some of these other things, if you do plan on doing that, really pay very close attention as to how your body is feeling, after you eat those things, maybe the day after you eat those things. Those three things that you did not have in the detox this week are all three top inflammatory foods, along with industrial vegetable oils. There's a whole long list of those. Those weren't in this as well. So that's not something that we specifically talked about, but those are definitely not in the detox plan for this week. So I want to also mention, if you're wondering, other ways that you can improve your health and well-being. Maybe there's something that you came across that you think, oh, that was a great idea. I should continue to do that. So definitely, incorporate those things. If you want to work a little bit closer with me, please reach out. Let me know. We can talk and, figure out, is there more things that you can do to help improve your health and wellness? I'd love to have you back for another season for the detox program. Just reach out and I'll let you know when those things are going on. So if you do have any questions or are concerned about what you went through this week, um, please feel free to reach out to me. You all have my email. If you've done the detox, you got all your detox information with my email on it. Just hit reply and let me know what's going on. I'd love to hear from all of you. All right. Thanks a lot. Again, if you have any questions, please send me an email. Have a great night. Bye bye.